Hello everyone, welcome back to Witches of the Moon. I'm your Monday host Natalie, and I am very sorry that this video is so very late in coming along. We are having some sort of issues out here where I live and where my office is. We had a power outage about 2 weekends ago. It was a weekend I was out of town for my daughter's birthday, and ever since then there's been disconnect between the wireless router and the computers, and uploading has been an issue, and files have been disappearing. So, the video I'd originally recorded for this, no idea where it is. However, I'm going to try to get through this as quickly as possible because this is a topic that we've covered before in previous seasons, and because my husband is prone to walk through that door at any minute, and who knows what he's going to do. Last time he tried to moon the computer. So, here we go. Spell writing tips and tricks. That is our topic for this week. What I want you to do is think of your spell as a wish or a prayer, right? I like to think of spell casting as prayer on steroids, okay? You are adding additional things into your prayer. You know how Catholics use their rosary beads and they're praying this specific mantra over and over and over, and they're putting something out into the universe. They're asking the Divine Mother for guidance, whether they admit that or not. They are asking the Divine Mother for guidance and protection. So that is a spell, in a way. We would consider it a spell. They wouldn't, but we would. So when I am sitting down to write a spell, well, it doesn't have to be anything fancy, okay? First of all, if you'll think back to the movie Practical Magic, I hope you get chicken pox, okay? That's a spell. She just cast a spell, gave the kid chicken pox, in case you missed that in the movie. Later on you see the kid with all the pock scars on his face, pock marks, scabs on his face. So that is a spell. That's all it takes to cast a spell. You don't need anything else but what's here and here. However, we like to add things that amp up the spell. We'll add to the energy of that working, which is why we use candles and herbs and other fancy things that we use in order to amp up the spell, to add to that energy, to put our visualization and intent more further into that wish or prayer or however you want to look at it. So, when I'm sitting down to write a spell, two tools that I feel I really need if I'm going to write a spell that's going to go in my grimoire is my pens and parchment paper. Now, I love parchment paper. I buy this stuff in the pack at Hobby Lobby. You can get it online. It's hard to find like parchment paper like this these days that's of a decent size, because all of the paper in my grimoire is 8.5 by 11, standard printer page size. My daughter's giving me this. It's way too small, but I use it to make pockets and things in my grimoire, so it's pretty cool for that. However, what I will do, I often create sigils, and I've talked about this in other videos in the past. When I'm doing a spell, I like to have a sigil that represents that spell that I can put onto the candle, or shape with the herbs or whatever, to add oomph to my spell, because that sigil can stay with me. I can put that in my grimoire and I can rework that spell anytime I feel the need to. My problem with doing things like this is that spellcraft is very specific and very personal to me. When you are asking something of the universe, you do want to be very explicit about what you want, because the universe has funny ways of answering your prayers. And what I mean by that is, if you think about the story of, I think it's called The Monkey's Paw. I'm trying to remember. There was a couple of stories that I remember reading as a kid, but I'm pretty sure it was the monkey paw. He had this little talisman. It was a monkey's paw. And that monkey's paw was actually cursed. Every time you made a wish, it came true, but something bad would happen in its place. So it's kind of like a djinn. Think about djinns. You rub the lamp, you make a wish, and something bad happens. If you don't know what that's all about, watch The Witchmaster. Okay, so what I like to do is sit down and think about the specifics of what am I casting this spell for. What is my ultimate goal? If I could wave my magic wand and have the exact end result that I wanted, what would that be? And that's what I'm going to ask for. So, for example, say my favorite band is coming back to the United States for the first time in 9 years. It took them 20 years prior to that to come to the United States. I didn't get to see them last time, and I really want to see them this time, and 2 of my friends are going, so I would very much like to go, but there are only 3 shows in LA next year. My chances of getting to that concert, slim to none. However, I am the masterful crafter of my own destiny. I'm a witch. We're going to work it. So I would say something like Natalie, or I would give my magical name actually in a spell, but I don't like to give my magical name out because I think it gives people power over you. Natalie sees Aha in LA. Right. Has great time. That's my spell, right? So I'm going to craft a sigil from that statement that's going to represent that spell in a nutshell. And I will put that in, let's see, for that spell, I would use my purple ink. This has gold flecking in it, but it's actually purple ink. Okay. So I would use my lovely glass dip pen. And once I have created that sigil, I would apply that sigil to some parchment paper. I would also inscribe it on the candle or whatever it is I'm going to use. If I'm going to put it in a mojo bag, it goes into this and probably gets burned and then put into the mojo bag. For more information about that, watch Nimbus River's video. Nimbus River's video on Saturday. He talks about doing that. But fire amps up your spell, right? So when you burn something, it's into the universe faster. So that's going to get added in as part of a bigger spell, right? And then I would probably come up with some sort of incantation. When I'm coming up with an incantation to chant, it's like a mantra. It's that repetitious prayer, the Hail Mary, full of grace, Hail Mary, full of grace, right? That's what that is to me now. I personally like my spellcraft to rhyme. It does not have to. Like I said, I hope you get chickenpox. Natalie sees Aha in LA, has great time. That's the spell, folks. But when I'm coming up with a mantra, I like things to rhyme. So I will sit down and write a list of all the words that rhyme that seem to match my intention. And then I will use that sometimes. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes it just pops into my head. I come up with it. So, magic moon with rings in night. Bring me love that's true and right. Okay. It's just something I would make up, So, but sometimes I'll sit down if I'm stumped and I can't think of something. I'll sit down and I'll write out a list of words. And then I'll look for words that rhyme and I'll work that into an incantation that I will enchant my items for my spell with. So, that's some of my tips and tricks for spell writing. Really, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. It just has to be something very personal with your deep intent that means something to you. This is one of the reasons why when I do workings for other people, unless it's somebody I'm very close to, I don't do them directly. I will gather the ingredients and the materials. I'll write out the incantation and I will give it to the person and tell them this is what you need to do because it needs to be their intent and their visualization, their enchantment of that spell to make that spell work. If I don't know them and it doesn't mean anything to me, spell's not going to work. So having a clear vision in your mind, being explicit about what you want and not leaving room for anything, and a lot of people like to throw in that and harm none, so to be, or for the greater good, it shall be, or whatever you want to say. If that's your thing, you do it. There's absolutely no harm in that. And sometimes I will, because especially if it's related to money, because you don't ever want anything bad to happen to somebody that brings you money, right? That would just be bad juju on that money, and I would never want to spend it after that. So I might do that, and none are harmed. The spell shall be as I will it to be, something like that. None are harmed as money comes to me as I will it to be, something like that. But I may add that in. This is something different. There's nobody that's going to be harmed by me going to this concert, except maybe my husband, who's going to be butthurt because I'm not here for however long I'm in LA. And I'm having a great time with that. But in any case, my spell tips are just that. Be explicit about what you want. Think about it carefully and be explicit, especially if you're going to do a big working, like actually making a spell for it. Keep it simple. However, don't try to overcomplicate your spell by putting in too many ingredients and things like that. Pick 2 to 3 herbs or ingredients, maybe 7, unless you're doing a 13 um, ingredient spell, and that's different. But again, that's explicit. It's 13. There's a reason all 13 are there. So just keep it kind of to that. Make a sigil to add extra oomph. And you can even do something like put that sigil on a piece of paper and keep it under your pillow overnight so that you take that spell with you into the astral. Something along that line. And then maybe bury it or burn it or however you're going to dispose of your spell remnants. Depends on what you're trying to do with your spells. So again, you need to think about your spell and why am I writing the spell? What is it I'm hoping to achieve? What is the purpose of this spell and what's going to be the end result? And that needs to guide how you write your spell. Okay, that's going to be the most important thing I'm going to say. That and the fact that you don't really need anything other than what's here and here in order to make that spell out to the universe and make it effective. And in fact, I think the more experienced you become as a witch, the less you rely on those things except in special cases. So it becomes a part of who you are, and it's just everything you do is magic, right? So like the police song, everything she does is magic. Well, anyway, so that's kind of how it goes. I mean, you'll find yourself casting little spells whenever you're doing whatever it is you do throughout your day. So, think about it in that terms. Magic and makeup to me is magic. I transform myself every time I put on makeup. I change my colors to match my moods or what I'm doing or what I look like that day or what I'm wearing or what I'm trying to achieve. I may apply my eyeshadow or my blush differently or use a different shade to accomplish a different result. It's the same kind of thing. So think of it that way. And I hope that helps y'all out. Thank you so much for watching, and blessed be.